Welcome to our channel, all friends. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe my channel and press the bell icon to stay update for new videos. Thanks. Let's start new video. Sir, this is my wedding card. If you consider this poor man worthy of it, please do attend my wedding. My employee Farhan had placed the card in front of me with great affection and humility. I looked up at him. Farhan had been working in my company for quite some time. A 35-year-old man weighed down by life's burdens, he had only now decided to think about marriage. I smiled at him and said, "If you need some money, you can take in advance." He immediately shook his head and replied, "No, sir, not now. I won't take an advance yet. I'm planning to arrange my younger sister's wedding soon, so I'll need it then. For now, I'll keep my own wedding simple, but your presence would truly make me happy. You've done a lot for me, and my family also wants to thank you in person. It would be a good opportunity to meet." I smiled and said, "All right, if I'm in town, I'll definitely come." The truth was, I often had to travel to other cities for business, so I said it more as a polite way of deferring. But as fate would have it, on the day of his wedding, it started to rain heavily. Traveling to another city became impossible. When I left the office, I found out that the area where I lived was completely flooded. The outer roads of the neighborhood were entirely submerged, making it very difficult to get through. I was still sitting in the car, asking my driver, "Now what should we do?" He too looked worried. The rain just wouldn't stop. Suddenly, my eyes fell on the wedding card lying on the dashboard. I had picked it up along with some office documents, probably absent-mindedly. I asked my driver to hand me the card. When I looked at it, I was surprised to see that it was indeed for today. Farhan's wedding reception. He had so lovingly invited me. I showed the card to my driver and asked, "Can you figure out where this is?" He read the card carefully and replied, "Sir, it's not far from here. It's a small area nearby. The reception is happening in a local ground. But with this rain, I doubt it's still possible." I said, "Let's go anyway. I'm starving, and since I can't go home, we might as well enjoy some wedding food." My driver was startled by my words. "Sir, you want to go to Farhan's wedding?" he asked in disbelief. The surprise in his eyes was obvious. He knew Farhan well and was fully aware that he was a very poor man, whereas I was a billionaire. I nodded and replied, "Yes, let's go. Is there a problem?" He didn't say anything further and turned the car toward the address on the card. After navigating through uneven, muddy roads, we finally reached the ground where the wedding reception was supposed to take place. Due to the heavy rain, the wedding marquee was soaked, and water had flooded the entire area. I looked around and said, half laughing, "Looks like his wedding just got washed away in the rain." Just as I said that, we heard a knock on the car window. The driver rolled it down, and there stood Farhan. His eyes reflected both joy and disbelief. "Sir, you came to my wedding?" He looked completely stunned. Perhaps even he hadn't expected that I would actually show up. Truthfully, I hadn't come out of choice. Circumstances had pulled me there. I said, "Well, I did come, but it looks like your wedding plans got ruined." He replied, "Sir, it's no longer possible to hold the event in the ground. That's why we've sent all the guests to our house. There's a large room in my home. We've decided to host the reception there instead. Please come with me. It's a poor man's house, but I'd be honored." He pleaded with such sincerity that I hesitated. For someone like me, stepping into such a humble home wasn't exactly easy. I turned to my driver and asked, "Can we go to his house?" He shook his head and said, "Sir, the rain is pouring down heavily. We can't even see clearly ahead anymore. It's best if we don't drive any further." He was right. The rain had become so intense that visibility was nearly zero. I looked at Farhan and said, "All right then, tell me where your house is. Since I'm already here, I might as well attend the wedding." Hearing this, Farhan lit up with joy and practically danced as he led me to his house. As soon as he opened the door, he shouted excitedly, "My boss is here! Everyone, please make way!" The few remaining family members who had made it to the wedding were inside the house. At his words, whispers spread among them. They quickly cleared a path and gave me a place to sit. But instead of seating me in the large hall, Farhan guided me into a smaller room. It was a charming, beautifully decorated room. Everything was pink. I observed it carefully. It looked like a girl's bedroom. And just then, following behind Farhan, a girl entered the room. She wasn't just young and beautiful. Her feminine grace was so captivating that it was hard to take my eyes off her. I sat there staring at her in awe. I had traveled across many countries, moving from one city to another constantly, but never in my life had I seen such innocence and simplicity. Her hair flowed down to her waist, her eyes were large and expressive, and a gentle smile played on her lips. She greeted me politely with a soft salam. Then Farhan said, "Sir, this is my younger sister, Layla." Layla immediately smiled at me and said, "Sir, do you need anything? May I bring you some coffee or tea?" She had noticed my wet clothes. I had gotten soaked while walking from the car to the house. Suddenly, I sneezed loudly. She looked worried and said, "Sir, your clothes are completely wet. I'll bring you some of my brother's clothes. You should change." That seemed like a sensible idea. I had an international flight in 2 days, and I couldn't afford to fall sick. So I agreed. Within minutes, she came running back with Farhan's clothes. I was sitting alone in the room while the sound of guests and laughter echoed from outside. Farhan had stepped out to look after the arrangements. Layla stood before me, holding the clothes. Softly, she said, "Sir, Tharami's only one bathroom in the house, and it's already crowded with guests. I won't be able to take you there, so please change here in the room." She turned to leave, but I gently called her back. "Wait, don't go. I'll just change my shirt and give it to you to dry. I'll need to wear it again later." As I said that, I removed my wet shirt right in front of her. Her eyes immediately lowered in shyness. She avoided looking at me, and for some reason, her modesty touched me deeply. It brought a smile to my face. I handed her my wet shirt and put on Farhan's dry one. She placed my shirt on the ironing board in the corner of the room and began to iron it carefully. I just sat there quietly watching the way her back moved, her long hair swaying gently. I couldn't take my eyes off her. Soon she spread the now ironed shirt neatly on the bed and said, "It'll dry in a little while. In the meantime, I'll make you some tea or coffee." She was just about to leave the room when I stopped her and softly asked, "Layla, whose room is this?" She smiled immediately and replied, "Sir, this is my room." I looked around the room with surprise and said, "This is a beautiful room. Looks like you really love the color pink." She nodded with a shy smile. I quickly added, "I like pink too. Even your lips are pink." As I said that, I stepped closer to her. I hadn't meant to do it deliberately, but my heart was irresistibly drawn to her. Startled, she looked up at me with wide eyes. My gaze was slipping out of control. She was wearing an embroidered outfit with large earrings in her ears, and her innocent beauty was devastating. I leaned closer, whispering softly near her ear, "Just like your lips, your hands and feet are also beautifully pink. I've never seen anyone so lovely, like a doll made of wax." As she heard my words, her heartbeat grew so loud I could almost hear it. She was young too, and she clearly understood my emotions. In that beautiful rainy weather, with both of us alone in that room, perhaps her heart too began to rebel. But avoiding my eyes, she quickly turned and left the room, and my smile grew deeper. My heart whispered, "She is the one, the girl I must have." Farhan was still busy entertaining guests. A while later, he came in carrying a large tray of food. "Sir, please forgive the delay," he said. "The rain is making it difficult to serve everything properly." I looked at him from head to toe. It didn't even look like he was the groom. Even on his own wedding day, he was buried in responsibilities. And because of my unexpected arrival, he seemed even more stressed. I reassured him, "Don't worry, I'm perfectly fine here. Go enjoy your wedding." He smiled and thanked me again for honoring his humble home with my presence. I was really hungry, so I immediately started eating. He had served the food right on the bed for me. A little while later, Layla returned with the coffee. Farhan had gone again. Someone was calling him from outside. Layla stood with her hands folded like a servant. I asked, "Aren't you going to eat?" She shook her head and replied, "Sir, you eat first. My brother told me to make sure you don't lack anything." She placed the coffee tray right in front of me. I looked at her and said softly, "There is something missing." Startled, she asked, "Sir, what happened?" I smiled gently and said, "I'm eating alone. Come join me." She blushed and started to refuse, but I insisted and made her sit down in front of me. Sitting across from me, She looked nervous, fidgeting slightly, while I just kept admiring her beauty. With her sitting there, even my hunger seemed to vanish. She was shyly taking small bites, constantly asking, "Sir, is everything okay? Do you need anything else?" Eventually, I chuckled and said, "Everything is fine. Just eat your food." She smiled and began to eat more comfortably. I had a few more bites too, though I wasn't really hungry anymore. But the rain showed no sign of stopping. A little while later, Farhan returned and said, "All the guests will sleep at Auntie's house next door. Sir, please rest here in peace. The noise will quiet down soon." He was clearly embarrassed by the kids still making noise outside. "I'm sending everyone out myself, sir. And Layla," he turned to her, "please take the dishes to your sister-in-law's room and spend the night there. Let Sir rest peacefully here. This is your room, but let him use it tonight." Hearing that, I felt awkward and said, "Why are you taking Layla's room away from her for me? I can sleep anywhere. What if your wife gets upset because I've displaced you from your room?" Farhan's face turned even redder with guilt. I placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "I'll sleep in my car tonight. I don't want to cause anyone trouble." I stood up, genuinely uncomfortable with the situation. It didn't feel right that Layla would be displaced because of me, and that the newlyweds would be separated on their wedding night. But Farhan immediately shook his head and said firmly, "No, sir. Please stay here and rest. Layla will sleep with her sister-in-law." He gave Layla a subtle signal with his eyes, and she quietly left the room without a word. I tried once more. "Farhan, this is too much. You and your family are being disturbed because of me. If the rain lets up even a little, I'll leave." But he refused to listen and left the room, gently closing the door behind him. Now, how could I possibly sleep in this room? I was used to the comfort of my spacious room and soft, warm bed. But here there was only a single bed with a hard mattress. Quietly, I lay down, running my hand gently over the stiff pillow and wondering, how does Layla sleep on these hard pillows? My eyes wandered around the room and landed on her belongings. To one side, there was a writing desk with a few books stacked on top. I got up, curious, and started to look through them. That's when I found Layla's diary. Without much thought, I sat down and opened it. Her mother was no longer in this world, and she was surviving with Farhan's support. An elder sister was already married. In the pages, she expressed deep fears, uncertainties about how her life would change once her sister-in-law arrived. She had dreams, big ones. She wanted to study medicine, to get admitted into medical school, but Farhan couldn't afford that kind of education. Money was always tight, and this broke her heart. So many unfulfilled wishes lay hidden in her words, wishes that poverty had wrapped in silence. Perhaps they would remain unfulfilled for life. I kept reading, slowly turning each page. Her world, her hopes, her disappointments were all there in ink. When I finally closed the diary and placed it back, a strange heaviness had settled inside me. Just before Fajr, the rain finally stopped. I stepped out of the room and found Farhan sleeping awkwardly on a small couch in the hallway. I didn't want to disturb him, but I had no choice. I had to leave now. After calling out a couple of times, he suddenly woke up startled. "The rain stopped," I said. "I'm leaving now. You should go rest in your room. Thank you for everything." Then I reached into my pocket and pulled out several 1,000-rupee notes. "This is your wedding gift," I said, placing them in his hand. Embarrassed, he stepped back. "No, sir, your presence was more than enough. I can't take this." I frowned slightly. Who refuses a wedding gift? Take your wife and sister somewhere nice. Go out, enjoy yourselves. With that, I began to walk toward the door. Just then, out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of Layla. She was stepping out of the kitchen. For a moment, I just stood there and looked at her, a long, longing gaze. It felt like I wanted to lock her image in my heart, hold her in my eyes, and take her with me. But I steadied myself and quietly walked out the door. Yet it felt like my heart had stayed behind in that house. The rain hadn't stopped entirely. It continued in intervals, as if the sky too was unsure of what it wanted. It was with great difficulty that I finally reached my bungalow, and because of the weather, I decided to postpone my travel plans. The next day, I went to the office, but Farhan wasn't there. He was on leave. Still, my mind was consumed by Layla. I couldn't find peace without her. So I called Farhan. I have something important to discuss. Can you come to the office? He replied, Sir, I'm far from the city right now. It'll take me some time. That's fine, I said. Come at night. I'll be in the office. He sounded worried. Sir, is everything all right? Yes, I replied calmly. Just come. Around 10 p.m., Farhan arrived at the office. He looked tense, visibly worried. I looked at him steadily and said, Farhan, don't be alarmed. I called you because I wanted to share something important with you. You know my parents are not here. They have no say in my life anymore, and I make all my decisions independently. So what I'm about to say comes from the depths of my heart. Farhan looked at me attentively, wondering what could be so serious. And then, Ishmeshban, I said it. I want to marry Layla immediately. His eyes widened. He was stunned. His facial expressions stiffened as expected. He was her brother after all. But I gently continued, I'm not saying anything inappropriate. I'm asking for her hand, with respect. I want to make her mine, with dignity and love. His tense face began to soften, now showing signs of surprise. Sir, you want to marry Layla. But we are poor people. How can there be any comparison between you and her? He continued, and I won't secretly marry my sister off. I want to send her off with full respect and honor. It was clear he thought I was suggesting something discreet or inappropriate. I smiled and reassured him. I will bring a grand wedding procession, and I'll pay for everything, the wedding, the reception, everything. I'll also fulfill all her unfulfilled wishes. You just start preparing for her farewell. He hesitated but then said, Sir, I must first ask Layla. We don't have parents. I've taken responsibility for my sisters. I don't want to do anything that would dishonor their memory. His words brought joy to my heart. I said, Call her now and ask her while I'm right here. He picked up his phone and dialed her number. I asked him to put it on speaker. I was eager to hear what Layla would say. Farhan called his wife first, and then she handed the phone over to Layla. Layla listened to her brother quietly and patiently. After a long pause, she finally responded in a soft voice. Brother, whatever you think is right, I agree. I just want to continue my studies after marriage. That one sentence filled my heart with joy. I had already promised myself that I would support her education. And with that promise, our marriage was decided. I couldn't bear to be away from Layla for even a moment now. So the very next day, despite the heavy rain, I brought the wedding procession to her house. Some of my closest friends and relatives were with me. Everyone was surprised, shocked even, that I had decided to marry the sister of my employee. But how could I explain that this girl had captured my heart in just one night? After a proper send-off, I brought her to my large bungalow. Layla was stunned to see my home, and when she sat in my room as a bride, she looked like something out of a dream. I sat in front of her, unable to take my eyes off her. After a long silence, I confessed, You are my first love, and now you are my wife. She was speechless. Maybe she couldn't believe this was really happening to her. When I reached out and gently touched her lips, she blushed a deep red. She was nervous, shy, trembling slightly. When I held her hands in mine and softly kissed them, I whispered, Layla, I chose to love you the right way. And look, now you're mine. I will fill every gap in your life. I want to see you become a doctor. She looked at me in shock. How do you know I want to become a doctor? She asked. I smiled but didn't tell her that I had read her diary, and from that day on, I quietly began fulfilling every dream she had ever written. Sometimes she would be amazed at how I knew what she wanted. But that little secret, I was never going to reveal it. And just like that, our married life had begun. Having Layla by my side made me incredibly happy. I showered her with so much love that she seemed even more beautiful than before. I had accepted her with great respect in front of the whole world. It never mattered to me that she came from a poor family, because love, I realized, is something far beyond these worldly distinctions. I had fallen in true love with her. She was a girl without parents, and my love had completed her life. Her innocent face, her words, her every little mannerism, everything about her was unique. Slowly, she transformed my lonely, desolate life into something beautiful. Seeing Layla made me understand that love is like a divine revelation. It suddenly descends on the heart's barren land. And when you become certain that it is love, you pray for it to stay, and you begin the journey to win it. But if that journey is undertaken with pure intentions, to make love sacred and respected, then Allah's help is always with you. I never had any selfish desires regarding Layla. I wanted to sanctify love, to make it pure, and God helped me in that. To all of you, I say, seek to make your love sacred and true. God will surely be with you.